And welcome back here to Baltimore's Camden Yards. Birds getting ready to face the White Sox first of three. Joined now by Eddie Matz. ESPN.com covers the baseball scene here in the great Mid-Atlantic. Let's talk a little bit, Eddie, about the Orioles running game. All of a sudden, they're stealing some bases.
That's right. We got to change their name from the O's to the Goes, right? Because they're just going. Yeah, they've got 9 steals, which might not sound like a lot, but if you follow the Orioles, you know that for them, that is a lot. It's about twice as many as they had this time a year ago. Last night, they had that double steal, which you see a double steal for the Orioles. You're like, whoa, wait a second, the world's coming to an end. And it was Seth Smith that stole home, which is crazy because in 4 seasons before this, he had 1 steal total. So it's contagious, right? The Orioles are just running wild. Obviously, they're not going to set any records for stolen bases, but it does show that, obviously they've been a very one-dimensional team these last few years. They still are relatively one-dimensional, but when you add a guy like Craig Gentry, along with a guy like Joey Rickard, it gives you some options, especially late in the game. We saw it earlier in the season when Gentry pinch ran against, I believe it was the Blue Jays in Toronto. He steals second, he tags up to third, tags up and scores the tying run. They ended up losing, but point is, it gives Buck Showalter some options, and he talked about that today. I asked him about that, and he says, you know what? When Gentry gets on base, it just changes the entire game. Even if he doesn't steal a base, it just gets inside the pitcher's head. They start doing things differently. So it adds another dimension that against a White Sox team whose pitching staff has been better than anyone in the American League, they're going to need that.
It's kind of interesting, Eddie. The Orioles continue to make a roster moves concerning their pitching staff. Since April the 25th, the Orioles have made 16 pitcher roster moves since April the 25th, including tonight. Tyler Wilson, who pitched last night, goes back down, and Stephon Crichton comes back up. And you can look at all of them. There's some that crisscross coming and going, but 16 moves. Boy, I tell you what, you almost need a shuttle now between here and Norfolk.
Well, we do, and that's what they call it, right? They call it the Norfolk Shuttle. It's 240 miles. I Googled it before. Google Maps says it's 240 miles door to door, give or take, from Camden Yards to Harbor Park in Norfolk. And it's a good thing the gas is cheap right now because they're getting max mileage there. But look, the Orioles have done that for years now under Duquette. And with Showalter, that's what they do. They kind of go back and forth. They like guys that have options. And that enables them to have the flexibility that they need when people get hurt or when, they have bullpen troubles. With Gosman getting ejected the other night in Boston, taxed the bullpen. Probably not as much as it could have because the relief corps, Ubaldo came in and did his thing. But, having that kind of flexibility allows them to do it, and they use it to the fullest extent. And tonight, they obviously called up somebody new to give them a fresh body. When if Tillman happens to be ready, which, we're not sure about that yet, but they may be, there's going to be more shuttling going on. It's part of how they do what they do.
Again, Tyler Wilson down and Stephon Crichton up for tonight's game. But how about Chris Tillman? You bring up Chris Tillman, pitched in Charlotte recently. How soon do you think he's going to be back?
Yeah, well, we asked Buck about that today. He said, depending on how his session goes today, he was supposed to throw. We'll see. If everything goes right, he's supposed to start on Sunday against, I believe, Jose Quintana. It remains to be seen how that session went. What we do know is that down on his rehab stint, things haven't been going as well as I think everyone would like. He started 4 games on his rehab stint at various levels, 7.16 ERA, 1.47 WHIP, 7 home runs in 16 innings. Now, obviously, who knows? We see things like this in spring training all the time where guys are just trying to work on things and get comfortable. Then they come into the regular season and everything's fine. So it could just be a case of that. He could just be working out the kinks. But his velocity was a little bit down too. It was more in the 86 to 88 range, which is not what we're accustomed to seeing from Chris Tillman. So, it might take some time for him to get back. The problem is that the Orioles can't really afford too much time, right? Because they need starting rotation help. They need their ace. So it'll be interesting to see if things went well today and he comes in Sunday. It'll be a good test to see how healthy he really is.
Great information from Eddie Matz. Check him out at ESPN.com.